Everything that is within your human race is artificial. Everything from their origin and creation and their start point is artificial. And melanin is one of the artificial elements that is part of their makeup. It has nothing to do with us. Water, hydrochloride, water, oxygen. Water is H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. So if you oxidize something, you're dyeing it in effect. You're taking or extracting color from it, and you are producing something that's artificial, which is melanin. I've been telling black people for years, you are not melanites, you are carbonites. The rest of the human race carry melanin. This is why they suffer, right, from something called melanoma, which is when the sunlight hits that melanin and it reacts in a unfavorable way toward the melanin, because the melanin is not able to absorb sunlight, because there would be nothing called melanoma. All right, they say you get melanoma from lack of sunlight, right? But they're saying that they also said there that the sun is supposed to produce or bring out melanin or strengthen melanin in the person, but then you wouldn't get anything called melanoma. Right? You have East Indian, you have dark-skinned people getting melanoma, right? Who's supposed to have all this melanin? Why is that? Because melanin is not a natural element. It has not been produced by the sun. It was produced through oxidization of electrons in carbon, right? To get melanin. It was an artificial coloring, as I said. So the first people to walk on the planet, the so-called black men and black women, are carbon-based beings, and they carry a solar energy, because carbon is produced by sunlight along with the other natural elements here. It is produced in the planet by sunlight. It is generated here, like gold, carbon, all these things. Zinc are generated into the planet from sunlight. They're transferred here into the Earth's atmosphere, into the Earth's core, and they germinate there. And people dig this out and use it in all different types of forms. But the first people to carry the 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons is the so-called black man and black woman, right? The first real men and women on Earth. And everything after them that was produced came as a melanated race. Your East Indians are melanated people. Your Asians are melanated people. Your Caucasians are melanated people, just low in melanin, but these are your melanated people. Like I said, they done found all the natural elements on the planet on the periodic table chart. Why is melanin not there? Because it's not natural. Just like your human race is not natural. I said that your melanin works off of water. It works off of a water energy. All right? Your melanin works off of water energy, which is why it can be removed. The melanite people, or the artificial people, your humans, carry artificial water or artificial coloring within their skin, within their brain, within their genetic makeup, right? And it is driven by energy, or water energy, or what you call spirit energy, right? Spirit is just really another word for water. They say it's air, but it's not. But then what is water? Water is hydrogen and oxygen. So that would be a form of spirit. H2O, water, oxygen. And it generates or drives melanin. This is why these people who burn under the sun need to be hydrated constantly, right? To activate the melanin as a protection agent, but it has to be hydrated. Right? Notice that their skin dries out when they burn, the melanite people. The carbon-based people produce a oil, a vitamin D oil in their skin, right? We produce a natural oil in our skin that absorbs sunlight, takes it in, and gives us a nice glow to our skin. Gives us a nice darker coating to it. So this is the difference. It would be considered a natural tan versus an artificial burn that these people get under the sun. You could tell the people who are melanites, and you could tell the people who are carbonites based on how the sun reacts. Based on how the sun reacts to their skin. You can, if you can differentiate different forms of melanin, what created the difference in the melanin? What made browns and yellows and all these different shades of melanin? In order for you to break down different shades, it had to come from one source, and then for it to start oxidizing, right? In order for it to start weakening, something had to be done to start that process forward. Something had to be done to weaken carbon and break it down into different forms of melanin. What had to happen? What had to happen? Obviously, scientific experimentation. Because as I said, your humans are a form of scientific experiment. They are the creations of a race of people that came before them, Ya'amin Bing. And Ya'amin Bing had to give them a form of coloring or a form of coating, really a coloring, which became known as melanin. Not that a coloring that would not be the same as their coating or their carbon coating. They had to give them a melanated version of it or a weaker version of it as artificial people, because these people could not carry carbon. They cannot carry carbon because they are not from the sun. The people that are from the water, who were created in the water, could not carry carbon. It would be too strong for them, and it would destroy them. So they had to have it weakened. They had to have it cut down in order for them to be able to live on the planet. Your so-called Caucasians, East Indians, and Asians don't carry carbon coating in their skin. They carry melanated coloring. Those carbon-based, you would have to come or be produced from or come through sunlight that was generated onto the planet in order for you to carry the carbon makeup. Right? You would have to be generated through sunlight. If you have origins on this planet, if you have a beginning on this planet, if you're created on this planet, then you cannot carry things within your body that come from off of this planet. You cannot carry the things that come from beyond this planet. You can only carry the things that are artificially grown or artificially modeled for your creation on this planet. This is the difference. When they talk about 6, 6, and 6, it is actually the control or the number of man who touched down on the planet first. Because those who touched down on the planet first, the Amin Bing, who in rulership became known as God, good people, and evil people, who made contact with them and who created them. This is why 666, which is 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, the carbon makeup of the first carbon beings that came down on Earth. The first rulers, the so-called black man and black woman, were put forward as those evil beings or those God beings or those God people, and that they would produce a race of people who would be considered outcast here as carbon beings, right? The black ones, right? The ones who carry carbon coating to them, the ones who were generated on Earth, the ones who were generated carbon-based people on Earth that would produce a melanated people for the point of serving, working. If melanin is in your human race, as your scientists say, and it's not a natural element, then that means your human race is not natural people. They're not a natural creation. They're not a natural manifestation. They have to be artificial as well. If, something's not natural to the earth, something's not generated here, and you're telling me, but this thing exists, and where else can it come from if it's not naturally generated here? If people possess this, your humans possess this, your animals possess this, then that means that they're not natural. They're not natural. From their own mouths, they said humans and animals possess melanin. And I've been arguing for years that black people are not part of the human race. And this is another point I can bring out. That we have carbon in our skin. When they look to find out how old people are, they do something called carbon dating. You can only do carbon dating, or you're constantly doing carbon dating to find out the age of black people, because the carbon is the element that shows up in black people. Melanin don't show up in black people. Carbon is generated from electrical pulsation and overexposure of light into this planet. So it goes through a process of light energy or solar energy into a physical elemental energy, right? And it is still carrying that solar charge to it because it was produced by solar light into the planet. It still carries the solar charge to it. That charge is solar electricity, that's sun electricity, or electrical sun energy. You cannot change elemental generation through climate change, through climate control or climate change. You can do that. You can change a person's genetic makeup, such as melanin, over time through climate change, because melanin is artificial. It is able to be altered. It is able to be altered. It is able to be increased or decreased. Right? It is able to be increased or decreased. You cannot decrease carbon. Right? You can't. You can water it down some. You can water it down. Right? You can oxidize it, cause a thing of oxidation, and bring in other weaker chemicals to produce melanin. But natural connection or connection with climate cannot weaken carbon. So it doesn't matter where a black person goes on the planet, you're not going to turn into another race of people. You're always going to look the same. You cannot break down carbon.
It's the Republic of Mentellect, rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mentellect, black race to the white race. If it's hell, then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods.